All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Talk with Serge. Can you hear me okay? Because I don't hear
Sure
myself.
can.
Okay, good. That was odd. I have headphones, but I can't hear anything. All right. Well, it is Tuesday, so we are here, gathered here today for another edition of Coffee Talk with Serge. We have the wonderful Katie Brown filling in for Ryan Kovar today. Katie, thank you for being available today to come talk about some interesting cybersecurity news stories. I know we have quite a few updates, recent news stories to talk about since the last time we met. So let's go ahead and just dive right in with the news clip. All right. So our first story is the most timely. This is news that just broke today. We have Kyivstar, which is the largest telecommunications company in Ukraine. It is currently dealing with a cyber attack, forcing it to shut down operations. And this is notably the largest, or what appears to be the largest, cyber attack against civilian communications systems ever. According to reports I've seen, the phone and internet access is down for the entire country from this company, which services, I think, millions of people. And so the CEO of Kyivstar said in a TV appearance that he believes Russia was responsible for this attack with the goal of destroying the company's virtual infrastructure, which could indicate a wiper attack. He didn't say that explicitly, but he did say destroy. They said that the attack was partially successful, and NetBlocks, which monitors internet outages and whatnot, said that this attack also had knock-on effects impacting Ukraine's air raid alert system and also the banking sector there. So there are impacts beyond just telecommunications. And this all comes, of course, as Volodymyr Zelensky is traveling to the U.S. today, meeting with lawmakers, traveling to the White House to appeal for more aid as that's running low moving into the future. So it's all very timely. And I'm curious, what you make of this in terms of, I guess, the significance of an attack like this, because I can't recall anything. There was the Viasat hack, right? The satellite systems. But aside from that, this seems to be one of the larger events that we've seen from a cyber attack.
Have you guys seen the new Julia Roberts movie on Netflix?
No, but I saw that was also a cyber attack in that.
Yes, and this is how it starts. I just want to point it out. No spoilers for the movie. It's very good, by the way, but this is literally how it starts. It's like an isolation of a population by bringing the internet down, cutting off cell phones, and then, the rest is history.
But isn't that just a tenet of warfare is to communication control? So if you can't knock out all of the providers in Ukraine, from my understanding, Kyivstar is the largest. There's also 3, Vodafone. The other 2 are still pre-operable, which begs a whole other host of questions. I think one of the interesting things of note was that it's super easy to switch your cell phone provider in Ukraine. Like, it's just you go and, hey, I want to switch over. Whereas in the States, I think it'd be a long, more protracted thing that plays out. But I think the bigger question for me is, the networks that remain, who owns and operates those? And are those secured and used for, like you mentioned, Audra, those communications to citizens? I think that's the end goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like telecommunications is a very attractive target for these types of attacks, not only because of the immediate impacts of, not being able to access the internet or, telephone networks, but also just because of the sensitive data that these companies hold too, just from a nation state perspective, what your goal is, whether or not it's like in a war where you're trying to just cause destruction to companies, which I believe that's what we're still seeing in Ukraine, right? With with wiper attacks. We've seen examples of that. And I don't know for sure if this was a wiper attack, but we heard about that attack in late 2022. Mandiant released a report not long ago about an attack on Ukraine's electric grid, which is interesting because that employed a wiper as well, to try to not only attack the OT network, but also the IT network. So, destruction is a big, I guess, impact of this. And I guess it's a good thing if they were able to take down their network before that had too large of an impact. So I guess we'll see what we learned from that, if it has, how long it takes, I guess, to be able to bounce back from this. But that is interesting, Mick, what you said about being able to switch providers. I didn't know that. So I guess that's a good thing to have that ability, especially in Ukraine.
Or anywhere, really.
Anywhere. Yeah, you could argue that too. I'm not happy with my service today, so I'm just going to switch over to.
Didn't they also report for this, Audra, that there is some of their airstrike alerting systems are down?
Yeah, so that was a knock-on effect that I saw NetBlocks tweet about. So obviously that's very concerning if this is having impacts to, emergency notifications, or even their banking sector may have been impacted. I don't know the extent of that, but I am, trying to follow this on Twitter. So or X, whatever you call it today. I'm not really sure anymore. We do have another story to get to, which is also about attacks on critical infrastructure. And this came out, I think, in late November, about an IRGC-linked cyber actor that is targeting U.S. water utilities. And this is actually a global campaign. It's not just limited to the United States. And so CISA issued an advisory about this. They've launched an investigation with a number of other U.S. agencies. And so this adversary uses a persona called Cyber Avengers, and they're believed to be affiliated with the IRGC, or the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And so these attacks, they include defacement images, which say, quote, "You have been hacked, down with Israel. Every equipment made in Israel is Cyber Avengers' legal target." So they're referring to PLCs, or programmable logic controllers, that are made in Israel, which are being targeted in these attacks, which are commonly used with like wastewater, water utilities, other industries like manufacturing, healthcare. So I also wanted to point out, an update to this story was that there have been impacts beyond just defacement. So there was a report, I believe this might have been the Record or Bleeping Computer, that reported that a small community on Ireland's west coast was actually left without water last week. Okay, yeah, so it was the Record. They were left without water because of a cyber attack attributed to the same group. And this was an outage that lasted 2 days and impacted about 160 households. So that's worth pointing out, that this group is believed to have caused actual outages with water, which is obviously a big step up from just, hacktivism, defacement types of attacks. So how concerned are you, Mick?
I mean, to say that our critical infrastructure is vulnerable to, exploit by bad actors, I don't think is an understatement. I also don't think it's new information. And, as great as Sam Esmail movies are, I think until there's funding and resources, this is going to continue to be a problem. As far as the level of capability of the actors, the IRGC, the MOIS, capability has gotten better and better over the years. And I think this is just the latest example of that.
Yeah.
This is the part of cyber that I think is the most scary, and actually one of the reasons that interested me in getting into cyber to begin with. This idea that computer code can affect like our physical realities. And it's always interesting trying to explain to people that don't work in cyber the potential implications of some of these attacks. Can create physical changes in our environment. No power, no water, no cell phones, what have you.
Because we say potential a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very rare that we see the kinetic reactions of that. And I think in the past, correct me, but past 5 years, we've seen more than we've seen in the past 15. And whether that's just reporting that's gotten better and access to that information, or just the uptick in attacks on those types of infrastructure, it's gotten really more kinetic. I think the big example for a lot of this was just Stuxnet. And Kim's editor did a fantastic job of tracking all of that and uncovering all of that. You can look at the source code now on GitHub. But I think those escalations, I don't see it getting better. So I hope there continues to be resourcing thrown in that direction.
Definitely. And it's especially concerning that this same group has caused kinetic impacts to a community outside of the US, but they're also targeting similar, utilities in the US. So it could potentially have those implications, if they're not prevented.
Yeah, I know we're drinking coffee, but I love water. I really do. And I think free water is awesome. Free, clean water is great. So access to that would be super. And if it wasn't cyber in the middle, we should fix that.
Yeah, water is important. You definitely don't want to lose access to water. That would not be good. So
valid argument, Nick. Valid.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very not good. So we'll keep following this, but it is good to see that CISA is on top of it. They're issuing information. They're providing, IOCs, different things for utilities to monitor and hopefully put in place to prevent this now that this is a known campaign. Another campaign to mention is linked to North Korea, and this is research from Cisco's Talos. They issued a report that North Korea, a group there that's I believe to be part of the Lazarus group, like a subsidiary of that group, is exploiting the Log4j vulnerability. This was, 2 years ago now that we first reported on Log4j. It was this time of year. I think it was actually December 10th, 2 years ago is when we...
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, so pretty much exactly 2 years ago, and this is still something that's being actively exploited by a nation state, right? We have North Korea still looking at this, and they're using this to target the manufacturing sector, agriculture, physical security, according to this report. It's dubbed Operation Blacksmith. And one of the interesting things is they found different malware families. One of them is called 9rat, so it has a remote access Trojan that they're using. So there's some more information in here, but it is the Log4j part of this is what's interesting to me, because there was another report from Veracode where they gathered data from like 3,800 organizations that use applications with Log4j, and they found that about 38% of those applications are using vulnerable versions of Log4j, the Apache library, which obviously is concerning because there has been a patch out for this and updates available. So the fact that it's still so widely out there is definitely an opportunity for adversaries. And we published a blog on it too, right, Mick? Do you want to call out our rapid response to Log4j?
2 years ago, yeah. I think there was a moment in time where we lost a bunch of sleep over this, and it's not surprising, but slightly surprising to see that, not that it's being used still, but the level that which insecure libraries are still being used, by everyone. But the 30%, over 30%, and it's really, I guess it's just a byproduct of, because it still works, we'll continue to use it. And until it doesn't work, to that kinetic action we were speaking of earlier, we'll continue to use those vulnerable things just because they work. I mean, never underestimate how hard someone's going to do just to do their job, right?
Yeah, been there. 2 years though, like I honor that patch management is super difficult, but 2 years, it's concerning too, because it's like something could be incredibly public and there could be such a level of urgency raised for something, but we can't really accommodate for, a company's resource constraints and, internal practices and whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning. It's something to be, thinking about now, especially with applications with, where you are, what applications you're using. And it's like, with open source, it's just so prevalent, right? So I guess it's not completely surprising that there's still vulnerable instances, but 38% is a pretty high figure just from that research. So not good. But with that, we'll go ahead and pivot now to some of our upcoming events, because I know we have quite a few things to talk about. The first of which is the podcast, right? So we have another episode that's coming out tomorrow of the security detail. And this is actually our capstone episode for the year, where we have a bunch of our past interview guests who are sharing the top advice that they've received in their careers, along with some failures that they've learned from. So a lot of really interesting insight from our interview guests. So that comes out tomorrow. And then we're going to have a season 2 of the security detail. So we're not done. We have a season 2 coming out. January 3rd, I believe, is when that launches. And we'll have an episode about NATO's flagship cyber defense exercise. It's called Cyber Coalition. And I was actually able to go tour that in Tallinn, Estonia last month, which was really exciting to be able to go.
That's so cool, Audra.
I know, it was so much fun, and just I'd never been to Estonia before. So just to be able to see how they coordinate such a large scale exercise. I mean, they have, 1,300 people globally who are participating in this exercise with all of this infrastructure and these scenarios and just collaborating with all these different countries. It was really cool to see it all come together. So that episode comes out January 3rd, if anyone's interested. And Mick, I know you actually traveled too. You were just in Jamaica, right? Was that last week or the week before that you were traveling for a conference?
I don't think time has any meaning anymore.
It was sometime in the past.
Yeah, past.
That's a different podcast.
Friends, I had a chance to go to the Tech Beach retreat in Montego Bay, hosted by obviously the Tech Beach folks. It was like expanding horizons, and it was really, really eye-opening to see this the tech just culture in the Caribbean and how that's really, really nascent and growing, and the opportunities there are really endless. And just to see everyone so excited and enthused about not just their cybersecurity journey, but just the journey into tech in general is really, really awesome. And I was hanging out in Jamaica for like 4 or 5 days. That's pretty good too.
Yeah, what a fun place for a conference, and cool to hear what Jamaica's doing as well with cyber. So that's really cool.
Mick, did you do the Bob Marley tour while you were there?
No. I stayed and hung out and talked to some of the folks there. Had some awesome conversation with folks from the Massey group and just Kirk and Kyle, the organizers, and just Keisha, the chief of staff, just how everything came together just to get the entire Caribbean in one place at the same time. It was just a really, really unique event. So I just stayed there, mostly because the food was really good too.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Gosh, I'm a little jealous. Jamaica sounds so fun. Yeah, lots of fun trips in the last couple of weeks. We also have some fun events coming up in the future that we want to get to. Most notably, we have Gov Summit, which is this week on the 14th of this week. So we have a pretty exciting lineup planned. A big focus on the nation's cyber strategy, also critical infrastructure. Mick, I know you and Ryan are presenting. If you want to tell us a little bit about our spearfishing AI project that we've been working on.
So really, this is a credit to Tamara Chacon and her research with the team. She led this project. We're just presenting it on her behalf. And basically, we try to figure out a multilingual approach to AI spearfishing. We've heard a lot of talk, a lot of just general thought is just that AI is going to make spearfishing better. Generative AI is going to make this so much harder. So we decided to test those theories out and tune in, and you'll see what the results are.
Yes, and I think we'll have a blog coming out on that as well in the near future. If anyone's interested in reading more about that, we'll probably mention it in our next episode for sure. We also have a really exciting fireside chat that I get to participate in. And this is with retired Admiral Mike Rogers, who is the former director of the NSA. He also helped to create Cybercom and lead up Cybercom. So obviously he has a wealth of knowledge about defending critical infrastructure. And then also, from a public sector point of view, about cybersecurity. We're going to be talking about threats to critical infrastructure, including those attacks on water utilities. We're going to talk about ransomware. Generative AI is obviously a big topic, so I'm really looking forward to that. And we have a whole bunch of other, breakout sessions later in the day. So if you're interested, definitely tune into that. And then we also have a few other events coming up in our next slide that we want to point out before we move on. Hackers on the Hill, January 11th. Mick, are you going to attend that this year?
I will be. Me and a great group of folks are going to hang out with your favorite legislators. I don't believe it's too late to sign up. There might be space available. So if learning about the intersection of cybersecurity and legislation and policy interests you, you should come check it out.
Awesome. And then what's this webinar on the 23rd of January?
So I'm going to hang out with some friends and we're going to talk about this survey that I just fell in my lap about, I guess it was a public sector focused, 1,000 or so folks. Hey, what do you think the future AI is going to be at your company, at your organization? And some of the results, I'm combing through them now. It's pretty awesome. So that webinar is going to be on the 23rd of January. So busy January so far.
Yes, definitely. And then, of course, Conf, we always mention that. It's all the way out in June, but hey, it's almost 2024. So it's just around the corner, right? So that's coming up in Las Vegas. All right. And of course, sign up for our newsletter if you haven't already, splunk.com/surge. We release this every quarter with updates on what we're working on, our research, some fun wombat facts. It's a lot of fun. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on now. I'm excited for this, Katie. We have our 60-second charity challenge. So let's go ahead and dive into that.
And now, Splunk's Cybersecurity 60-Second Charity Challenge. Remember the rules. You've got to get through an entire subject in 60 seconds, or you donate to today's charity of choice. Good luck!
So I got ahead of myself. There's one other thing we want to mention, and that is a podcast recording that we're doing. So this is in addition to what we have already with podcasts. So Mick, tell us about this podcast we have coming up.
So our friends at Cyberscoop have a podcast, Safe Mode, and I'm going to go hang out with Elias and talk about cybersecurity and presidential campaigns and recent job posting you may have seen online about the Biden campaign looking for a CISO to lead their efforts there. So we're going to talk about that and just cybersecurity and politics in general. It should be really, really interesting. Looking forward to it. So look for that in January on a Safe Mode, pretty much. Wherever podcasts are, I guess, right?
Yes, wherever you get your
the internet. The podcasts are on the internet.
Yes, it's out there. Okay, that's exciting. I'll definitely listen to that because of all the people to interview, you are a great person to ask about that. So great. So today for our charity challenge, we wanted to wrap up the year, of course, with a year in review, right? With our biggest cyber incidents of 2023. What do you consider to be the most impactful or the most interesting or the largest scale cyber event, whether that be an incident, a vulnerability, some sort of news of 2023? And our charity this week is the ASPCA, helping out with animals. And that's a charity that Katie picked for this week.
Yay, love animals.
Yes, so there you go, ASPCA, great charity. So and if anyone listening, if you have an opinion, feel free to weigh in the chat. Let us know who you think is the winner. And so this time it'll be Katie and I. And who wants to go first? Do you want to go first, Katie? Do you want me to go first?
I feel like you should go first.
Okay. I actually haven't done one of these in a long time, so this will be interesting. But I'm ready whenever.
It's a lot of pressure.
I know. So in October, I actually wrote a blog about what I consider to be the largest attack so far of 2023. And my number one choice has not changed since then. I'll link to it after this when I can focus better. But this was the Move It Transfer breach. This was a campaign by the data extortion group CLOP, which exploited vulnerabilities in the Move It Transfer appliance to rapidly target customers. I believe it's the biggest cyber incident because of the sheer scale. There's actually data to back this up. Emsisoft, which is a New Zealand-based cybersecurity firm, they've been tracking the fallout from this breach. Every day they're updating this blog, which I'll also link to in a minute. As of today, there are more than 2,600 organizations known to be impacted, affecting nearly 84 million people. So it's obviously concerning to see a group like CLOP take advantage of zero-day vulnerabilities in internet-facing software. And make no mistake, they're getting paid and they could actually reinvest this money to try to find more vulnerabilities, even zero-day vulnerabilities, to continue with the mayhem. And that's why I think it is the worst of the year.
Audra, did you practice that? It was so succinct.
I made bullet points, and I have my my link.
I'm in trouble.
Oh, stop. No. Let me put the links in the chat, and then and I feel like I've talked about this enough where I could probably just rant about it on command when I was, without any bullet points. Yes, it's just one of those incidents. All right, Katie, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I am ready. Oh my gosh, we're going. Okay, so I'm not going to lie. I knew Audra was going to pick that. So I had to come up with something a little more creative because I would have picked that as well. And I'm going to go with the dark beam breach, which happened earlier in the year. So if you don't know, Dark Beam is a company that is most notably known for its risk management offering. So basically the company is to make sure that you guys are protected. So the breach happened as a result of security tools not being password protected. So they had SIMs and different other security tools, weren't password protected. Hacker got in, exposed 3.8 billion logs, which these were the logs that analysts were using to help put a story together to tell people that they had been breached. So really every way you look at this scenario, it feels like insult to injury. But I think overall it's a good illustration that human error can be just as bad as intentional hacking.
Oh, wow. That was good. That was really good.
I feel good about it, Audra.
Yes.
I feel good.
That's good.
Yes. And your timing was perfect too.
Yay!
Yes. So in the chat, does anyone have an opinion? Mick, what do you think? Are you going to judge? Or Daniela?
I will judge.
Okay.
Oh.
I want to give it to you, Audra, because when you said I'm going to post links in the chat, I believe the kids that receipts just bam.
I feel like there's a butt coming. Is there a butt?
But Katie, for being so rusty at this, because when's the last time you hung out with us on the show? It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
You crushed the timing. And that was the big hack that nobody heard of because
that's true.
Data. So I will call the last 60-second challenge of 2023 a tie.
A tie?
That's fair. That is fair.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take a tie. And that means all the more money for the ASPCA, right? So it's a win-win.
Well, Ryan did sing that song at Comp, so I feel like we have to kick back a little bit. Yeah. A little bit extra.
Right.
Where's the Sarah McLachlan sad song? Yes. That's exactly what I was thinking.
If he would definitely sing it. I'm not going to, but you can just imagine Ryan singing. Yeah. Just let that be how we end today's episode with that in your mind. I think that's all we have, though, right? Anything else you want to mention, Mick, before we say goodbye?
No, this is our last show of 2023, Coffee Talk. So it has been a pleasure and a privilege, truly, to hang out every 2 weeks with everyone, and hopefully it's been entertaining and slightly fun. And to paraphrase Murrow, good afternoon and good luck.
Yes, that's a good way to leave it. And we'll be back next year, right? That's the plan.
In a new year.
In the new year, we'll be back 2024 with more Coffee Talk on Tuesdays. So stay tuned for that, and definitely stay tuned for the security detail, January 3rd. Be sure to tune in. So with that final plug, we'll say goodbye. And thank you so much, Katie, for coming by. All right. Bye, everyone.
Surge.